If you the type of nigga that's out here that's running behind women, thinking it's all about having girls and all this old type of shit, then this ism don't even apply to you.
Man, it need that made his way to say something to me, bro.
But it might be on cocaine or whatever, or on some kind of drug. But man, he got hoes look 20 times better than this bitch, man. This bitch look too ugly. Man, you shot the little bitch in the lane. Man, that's why I told him.
Back here on what?
For real. Man, Tina Hatch, this bitch fucking better.
If you one of them, please excuse yourself now. This is a no simp zone. We all the way live over here. And for my people that's been here since day one, y'all already know what's going on. It's time to straight get to the point. No more playing all that old type of shit. We getting straight to the point. Now, since when, who the fuck Phil tried from that little bit of information you already heard? Just being honest, dog. And at the same time, how many of you all can see or have seen or familiar with people that think the same way this young lady think? How many? You can damn near throw a rock and hit a girl like that without no problem. But the problem is each one of them feeling like you fucking with them or at them for some particular reason or something. And they feel like they so much of value that they can try this shit on every dude that they meet. And you're going to have to pay for whatever you want. Because remember, only the little girl being raised up to feel like she don't need a man in her life. The boy being raised to thinking he got to get successful to take care of the broad. It's the wrong way to think. How? When the rules, the laws, and all this shit is against you and all this. Don't nobody tell you that you're supposed to get your shit together first. Sometimes it may go over your head when you hear your parents tell you or some shit like that. But I'm here to let you know. I know it's some shit that some of you guys may be feeling important. But it's an order how things supposed to be. But it's going to be some things in your life that's more important than other shit. When you're young, you still probably figuring it's all about trying to have sex and run. No. You know how valuable your seed is? Your seed of knowledge? That's what separate a real man from a trick. It ain't gonna be your money. Ain't nobody in their right mind gonna tell anybody exactly how much they got, everything they got. So you'll never know who got the most. And some niggas who ain't got and some niggas who ain't got none at all. And some niggas who ain't got none at all. But it's so crazy that if they sit there and expect every guy to be the same by running this type of shit, then at what point did men lose their value? At what point? Because since the beginning it was written that a woman's supposed to be here to help and assist man. Niggas get out of line and get it twisted doing the wrongest, dumbest shit behind following up these females. I'm not going to call them out. And I'm not going to say that this young lady speak for every woman because like I said, a real one know the difference between a woman and a lady. No disrespect to neither one. But I treat you according to how you act. And gentlemen, what I want you to understand is what's going to separate you from the rest is the type of energy that you bring. You got to be the type of nigga that already know what you ain't going for. That shit a nigga ain't buying. It ain't about your looks. Nigga don't give a fuck how you look. When you get good and ready and you really want to settle down and that's what you want to do, you're going to understand that it's way deeper than how broad look. It's going to be more of a connection. You're going to be smart enough to know damn how beneficial she is being with you. Or you fucking with her. Or however the game go. And out of respect, you have so much respect for her that possibly, matter of fact, it's supposed to be that you honestly will receive the same energy that you put out. She carry herself with so much respect that you know you got the type of motherfucker on your team. You ain't gonna cross her or do the type of shit that you done did with other women and shit. That's why I say, take your time. It's no offense to the women, but I need y'all to take y'all time and have some fun first. Because there's going to be a lot of women you're going to run through and think you love and all that old type of shit. You ain't got to dump in them and have kids just yet. Take your time. You want to know a motherfucker in every phase and every season of their life. The problem is we rush into every fucking thing we do by thinking with the little head instead of thinking with our big head. We got this motherfucker for a reason. Think about it. The only way you being respected is when you carry yourself a certain way, when you are a certain way. So it's all about your confidence at the end of the day. A motherfucker gotta acknowledge and respect what your art, what they dealing with. And if they slipping and ain't smart enough to peep that, then it's they loss. It's their privilege to be slow. You know what I'm saying? That's game for real. When you can meet a motherfucker and you ain't gonna even waste your time because she ain't even smart enough to peep what's really going on. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that. If you wanna waste time and play with her to see how far she gonna go or whatever, throw her to the wolves type shit. But as far as all that, thinking you can come play with a nigga, I don't why waste your time when you know what you were? Why? You know what I'm saying? Hey, you know what, man? Speaking of that, cool as shit, man. Cool as shit. Y'all know they took my other page. And for a minute I was on some chill shit because a lot of stuff been going on as far as, you know, life in general. And then a little hurricane had came through the city for the first time and got a lot of people attention. They still cleaning up this stuff, man. It's been wild. But in life in general, not just considering that fact, but in life in general, all that shit has made me appreciative of things. But in the process, you know, I just took that little time away and just chilled on some shit, like really didn't even want to fuck with it and just was tweaking my Facebook and my IG page or whatever. So somebody had messaged me and like, you know, I've been looking for your page, whatever. A couple people did actually. And like, man, is you the same dude or whatever? And then I reached back out or whatever. So one of my people was one of the guys that did a consultation. And I didn't remember the number because I got a whole new phone. And everybody in my old phone programmed, so I got a whole new phone or whatever. So I finally got the chance to line up the call to talk to him earlier. And I remember exactly who he was. And off the rip, on everything I love, you can see the glow on the young dude, man. And the first thing he did, you could see it in his smile. It was so genuine. He was like, man, you was right about everything you said. And the nigga having their way. And it's simply all behind you understanding that certain things just come first. And just so happen, one of the most important things that should come first is yourself. You're not going to understand how to treat nobody else and deal with nobody else and none of that shit until you understand yourself, dog. That's why I say give yourself room and time to grow and learn and shit. It's going to be a couple, man, you're going to see all kind of bad motherfuckers and do all kind of shit in your life. You're not going to always be perfect. But the thing of it is, you want to try to make as less mistakes as possible. So you don't want to be out here wasting time, doing wasteful things, doing countless shit that ain't making no sense. It's cool for the dudes that's I guess it's sexual thing and you just like to play with these chicks. I ain't with all that. A sex toy. No matter how good you land up in it, she don't respect that. It ain't nothing but sex at the end of the day. Any nigga throw some up on her. But what she's understanding is, and what you gotta get her to understand is, for one, she's on a new program, on a new instruction, on a new everything just dealing with you. And my main thing, fellas, you wanna be careful with the shit that you do. And you want to keep an open ear for everything that they say and pay attention to the smallest details. Every single thing. Everything. You can't forget shit. You got to know and remember the way. You got to know the way her shit looked yesterday if it's a different color today, goddammit. You got to know. That shit got to be looking the same. You got to know your girl that well. You got to know everything about it, man. When her mood change, you really got to have a connection to it. It ain't get off the PlayStation. You ain't got to be up her ass or none of that. But when you're a type of man and you attract attention and you attract the type of people to you that, you know, like I said, it's always better to be chosen and all that shit. So therefore, you to put yourself in a position where people are attracted to you, then maybe she'll understand how to open up and live up to your standards type shit rather than you trying to live up to hers. Because if that's the case, she's going to expect you to be like everybody else. Play that same shit, get tired of that shit, then it's move on to the next one, expect him to do the same shit, then it's over. You know how that shit go? No. What makes you think you're not just as valuable? You don't think that you're valuable as far as your time, your sex, your energy, your not your biological and your psychology, whatever that shit called. All of that shit, really, man. I don't even waste my time because I know the energy I bring. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of shit I just don't do because You got to know what to expect. You got to know how to read her energy and be able to tell, okay, like I said, if she's not smart enough to even know what's going on by even peeping a nigga like you, then why waste your time unless you just want to have some fun? And me, myself, that shit got to come with something because my handsome come with a run. So I need to have, I can't just waste time just being around a motherfucker because I know I'm going to have an impact on her to a certain extent. It's going to make her want to do better. It should make her, I'm going to see the glow and I'm going to see the impact that I have on her and all this old shit. And if you don't understand anything about energy, once you find a level of peace in your life, motherfuckers can drain your energy. And the last thing you want is anything or anyone draining your energy. So you don't want to fuck with just anybody. You don't want to do just anything to put yourself into certain predicaments that's not worth it. Try to avoid mistakes. You're not going to live a perfect life or none of that type of shit. But if you pay attention, like I said, those hashtags mean something. If you pay attention, aware is one of the main ones that I use. All you got to do is pay attention to every single fucking thing that goes on around you. And especially think before you make a move or do anything. Because you're at least supposed to think 3-4 steps ahead. That's why they say relate to life like it's chess or some shit. You got to think a couple of steps ahead. You can't just think about tomorrow. You got to already be set up and know how this going to fall and how this going to be and this shit and all that old type of shit. But you're not going to learn everything overnight. That's why you shouldn't just be an open book. You don't learn everything overnight. So you shouldn't just be an open book. Motherfucker discover you or want to fuck with you and you just let them know everything. And the last thing you want to do is be routine. Well, motherfucker think they know you. One of the main objectives, if not the main objective, is you got to know your hoes. They can't know you. They can think they know you. But at any given moment, you got to be able to leave a motherfucker because you know that you can do without a motherfucker. Because you got to where you are without a motherfucker. That's why this whole thing about you getting yourself together first is very important. Your happiness and all this shit been existed before somebody came into your life. And when the motherfucker understand that, you can go. Just leave the door open behind you when you do get the fuck on. And don't trip over the next bitch that's coming through behind you after you leave. Because they do look better going than coming. And they all go coming. And a bitch ever felt like, don't none of them feel like they'll stay forever unless you give them time to understand how life goes. That's why I say when you get around my age and some shit, then you'll start thinking clear enough to where you can hopefully receive the same energy that you put out if that's what you really want to do. But it becomes a choice. A choice that if you want to make being somebody's life or bring a motherfucker into your life, you don't have to be in a relationship. And that marriage shit ain't for everybody. You know what I'm saying? And that's just being honest. Nah, it's just strange that, and man, I could talk about a lot of shit, but it's a lawsuit that I may have going on just on some personal shit, but I ain't even gonna speak on it. But just to show you how the law is just designed, and it's just so crazy because none of this shit, at some point, it was designed for this world to be ran by pussies in some cases. That's how I feel. Why would you try to dumb down the man? Why isn't there, if anything, you see it's being forced? Why isn't there, if anything, you see it's being forced that niggas should go sideways to be on some gay shit? You see that shit damn near every show, every commercial, everything that you look at. But instead, they don't push the agenda of being on some straight up shit, showing strong household family, how families and shit supposed to be. Even though that shit may be normal or supposed to seem like it's normal, we see the shit that's going on. You get married to a person, you got shit established with this person, you got kids by, she takes everything, damn near half of what you got. I met out the other day, told me he had 100 and some thousand in this account. And soon as he got divorced, over a year ago, maybe going on 2 years now, something like that. And now he only got $3,000 in this account. And a whole bunch of other shit he named that got taken from him and all this old other shit. And I was in awe. Because I heard of these stories, but at the same time I'm on some shit like, you can't be fucking serious. And he like, and she asked for the divorce. That really fucked me up. I say, for real? He like, yes. I say, you can't be fucking serious. And it's sad, but why do these things? And then I seen another, probably a year ago, I seen another, some other content where the guy was saying that there are more successful single father households than there are single mother households. And I can agree. 'Cause I'm going to tell you one thing that I realize about life. Now I can't say this about every man, but this is what life has done to me. It ain't did nothing but challenge me to become better in every kind of way. So, like I done showed y'all, I can go show y'all now. I got I get the popping this shit for real. Like y'all, this shit for real with me. Just to show you what going on. My little boy G, my third oldest, just left. G on his way back to school. But he got work in the morning, but he got school Monday. But I just sat at the table with him and was showing him this. So this stuff that I've been getting prepared for. And shit that's just been fucking with me for quite a while. And it's a cold game, but it's for real and it's true. And it's sad, but it's fucked up and it's true. So my first thing was, here it is. So I decided at some point in my life where I understood with anybody I ever dealt with, man, I've always had the leverage because I always understood my value. And even if I knew I had to start over, I knew that was better than going backwards, no matter what. And realizing because I had to go through shit and at some point step back and look at my life and analyze and see how I fucked up and where I fucked up at. And then discover, okay, I don't want to do this no more, do that no more, go through that no more. So now I got to do this right here type shit because I'd have been there before type shit. But I still got to clean up the mess that was already left behind, regardless of what. So therefore, my first child, Junior, matter of fact, situation happened with his mom. It was so long ago. I remember being like about 19 when I had him or whatever. And she called me to her house one day and she didn't really have to go into detail, but her thing was, I need you to get our son. She got some shit going on and, got in the wind. So 19 years old, I got my little boy, he like 2 years old at the time, some shit like that. Yeah, he like 2. He was still in Pampa. And I got him and we doing fine. I ain't even tripping on what she got going on and nothing. She know how to contact me and find me, but he good. He in good hand. And immediately, even as a young boy, even though I had this going on, I had to find ways to make it work. You know what I'm saying? So the most important thing was being a dad because I got a son to look after type shit since a very early age. And the wildest shit that I didn't understand was after I had my son for about 6 months to a year, out the blue, I get some shit in the mail time I paying child support. I didn't have to go before no judge or anything. Just automatically, you got to pay this amount, whatever, all this old shit. So the first thing I did, because I knew I couldn't get in touch with her, last thing I heard, she hadn't got locked up or some shit, or something hadn't happened. Because that was the whole little situation she had, and some got on the run or something like that and needed me to get my son. She didn't choose, and then we was kids. We was only 19, 18 years old. She didn't choose to give him to her mom. She didn't choose to give him to her aunties, her grandparents, nobody. She chose to give him to me because she knew and understood how I felt about my kid, and I'm going to take care of my child. For some reason, she just felt comfortable enough to give her to me. So out the blue, her mother came and come see me one day, or came to come visit him. And I let her in. I was staying with my little bottom gen at the time, because I told you I moved out my mom's shit at 16. So I'm with my older joint and got my kids staying with us and shit. And my shit lady. So, mom, that's her first time ever coming to the gent, but, I welcome her in, let her see her grandchild. I ain't holding him back from his people. This is people. And plus, I'm taking him to see his auntie them every day because they stay around the corner. But we still in the project back then. This way back. So, I asked questions about his mom, like how she doing, where she at. And the first thing she do, like, I don't know, and basically didn't care. So after she got finished chopping it up with my son, she on the way out the door and like, well, okay, where's bags and shit at? And I'm looking like, what you mean? She like, she came to come get him. So I'm telling like, I don't mean any harm or anything, but No, I can't let you. I just sit here and heard you say you don't give a fuck about your own child. How I'm gonna be comfortable with you taking mine? He good. She didn't leave him with y'all. She left him with me type shit. Then a little argument ensued or whatever the case may be. Then, push came to shove. About a week later, a couple of days later, she ended up coming back in the picture or some shit, and she ended up getting him. And then I ended up starting paying child support from them. But from what I was told, it was never, she claimed she didn't go put me on the shit. But I remember her having another child and me knowing that child wasn't mine and going to take the blood test and the system not explaining to you that they'll put you on child support if the other child yours. And I knew my son was actually mine. The other child wasn't mine like I thought. So since that day, it just been bullshit with them folks. It seemed like at some point they began to get personal. Way back since 2016, Shawty hadn't gave me custody of my child. Literally. She gave me custody of him. And what was so fucked up about it, out of all the shit I tried to show and do for him, he still bit their hand and fed him. But that's another story. The sad part is the way the system try to play a nigga. And if it wasn't for me keeping up with this shit, like I said, I was young and I was wild and running the streets, and I couldn't remember for the life of me where I put this shit at. I thought I had lost it because I was so busy running and ripping and running in and out of jail, fucking with different bras, losing shit here and there. You know how that shit go. And little shit like a little letter, I couldn't figure out what the hell it was, but I remember going to them that day and turning it in. But for the life of me, they could never find that paperwork. But they remember the day I came, but they ain't never had it. And these motherfuckers really some bullshit. Really, it's just a bunch of shit with these folks. And when you really sit down and think about it, the system wasn't designed for us to win. So you shouldn't put yourself in a position where you can allow anybody to have any kind of leverage on you in any kind of way. You might love kids. It's a time for every goddamn thing. You might want to be in a relationship. It's a time for that shit too. You got to be smart enough to understand exactly what's going on and be aware. That's one of the main things I always hashtag and tell you guys. Be aware of what the fuck is going on around you. It's very important. Don't get caught up in playing the latest game and trying to keep up with the Joneses and all this old shit. It's a whole big another picture than what y'all don't even realize or even see. While we stumbling in within this fucking well and we stuck not knowing any better. You got to be smarter than that. That's why I'm giving you 36 ounces of game where you can learn some shit and be smart enough to avoid some things that I done went through. And it's fucked up, but that's just the way that life is if you decide to take that route. I didn't know any better. It wasn't content creators or nobody telling me things and shit like that. I just had to learn the hard way. But I made things right. And I'm going to tell you how I understood and was able to look back at my life and analyze. And like I break it down to my kids to this day. And I see things and I say, God just have his perfect timing. Now to this day, I forgive her and I'm not even mad at her because we was young, we was kids. So being young or being kids, we didn't know what the fuck we was doing. So I don't blame her. I'm not pointing no fingers or none of that shit. But we was young. And no matter how hard I try, I've always showed my son the right shit. And somewhere in his mind, he come up thinking or trying to be like me in his own way or whatever the case, but then being raised up around his kin folks, and them little dudes pretty much had and ran with me at some point, and ain't no telling what they used to be trying to say around them and little shit. But and then you got these kids coming up with their own little ways and with the way of the world today and all this old shit, and it just makes shit so bad. And when you think you helping by trying to basically pamper the kid, you hurt him. You hurt him, and in terms of that, I hurt myself when I made things too easy for him, because he's turned right around and took everything I had and bit the hand and fed. And it hurt him, and no lie, because it fucked up our relationship. But I didn't let that come between me between us to the point where I allowed that shit to stop me from being a grandfather to my granddaughter when I realized he had a daughter. He made amends. He ain't paid me back. He apologized, but he still didn't mean it, I don't feel, because I just didn't, I don't feel, and I couldn't respect it because I didn't raise him like that. And right after him was my second son, and they like 2 years. Right after him was my second son, and they like 2 years apart. Me and his mother had a better relationship, but she was my bottom girl. She was the first girl that I was fucking with before I even had my first child. And matter of fact, I had my first son on her while I had Shawty. So she figured she want to have a baby now or some shit like that. Matter of fact, I thought they were working roots, because I thought the hoe couldn't even get pregnant type shit. But anyway, she ended up having my second oldest. And he come up, he got all my ways he got my ways in a good way, but sometimes he liked to straddle the fence. Nate went to school and all this old shit, but he dropped out of college, and I ain't like that when he you know what I'm saying? And I ain't saying school for everybody, but all this old shit, but he dropped out of college, and I ain't like that when he you know what I'm saying? And I ain't saying school for everybody, but kid got great potential and raised well, mannerable, and I got some beautiful kids, y'all, all of my kids. And then it's G. Like I said, they all 2 years apart. I'm a little older now, in my early 20s. Taking my time. His mother got a little bit of more sense of direction with how she want things done in life and all this. As a matter of fact, me and her had 2 kids together. His sister right behind him. Like I said, right after Reese, Nate went to college, played ball, had 2 kids together. His sister right behind him. Like I said, right after Reese, Nate went to college, played ball, straight to college right after him, doing his thing. Straight A students. Matter of fact, he just said he just made G just the coolest shit for me to look at my son and hear him say shit like, yeah, I just made all A's, but I got a B in one of my chance, but I had to email my teacher back and she didn't respond because I know I hadn't did this and did that, and I'm looking at this dude like, this boy been a straight A-B student ever since he been in school. And one of the coolest little dudes I know, I'm talking about, man, my kid, I love him to death. And then his sister, she in college right after him, doing her thing, on her shit. But as time went on, I see how I matured and how I was able to better assist the situation and do things. And, you know, that's why I say it's a time for everything. And now that I'm older, I look back and I can understand now. You know what I'm saying? And I'm more appreciative of those experiences and things like that. But if you live to learn, then continue to want to learn so you can live. It's all you got to do. That's why I say be aware, pay attention, learn. Don't just waste your time all day laying up and playing games and shit. Learn, adapt. Because the most important thing in the key to survival is being able to adapt to whatever. So regardless of what went on, no matter what, like I've always said, I was always able to reinvent myself no matter what I went through in life. No matter what I went through, I was always able to reinvent myself. And that's one of the most important things, to be able to adapt to where you have to reinvent yourself. Just like a chameleon. No matter where they go, they know how to camouflage themselves to blend in cases of danger in every environment. Therefore, I don't consider you should try to be an alpha male, because alphas are more loud, where they always have to be seen and heard. Be more of a signal. You got just as much power, but you're more quiet and deadly with it. You know what I'm saying? They ain't supposed to see it coming. Because if they can see it coming, they know how to prepare for it. And then if they know how to prepare for it, if you can be seen, you can be touched. If you can be touched, you can be killed. You know how I go. You know what I'm saying? But that's just facts of life, man. You got to stay on it, man. Couldn't get done, so they switched up the game plan. And bro, I'm telling you, man, for real, it's a cold game, but it is what it is, dog. You just have to pay attention and be aware. Simply that. And no matter what you go through, it makes you resourceful. You have to find ways. Like I said, I sit back and I did my homework, gathered the pieces and on some other shit. Like, you know what? It's personal, so a lot of shit I can't say. But them folks done fucked up on some crazy shit. I don't know what it may have been, but it's a good thing that I got all my ducks in one row and been doing my thing as far as making sure I've been doing the right shit. Now, as a father, and since I done changed my life, when I wasn't employed and was in the streets, I didn't know any better. So you did things how they came. Kids needed things, you had it. You go in the stash, go buy it. If in the case of emergency, you go in the stash, go buy it. But case of a real emergency, you really wasn't prepared for. Having that real bread to the side to make sure all the kids straight if something happened to you. Making sure the kids got money to go out to college and all this old type of shit. But a lot of shit we don't sit down and think about because people don't. And the only reason why I was aware and I came across some shit because I made my dad a promise. See, this is what happens when you be raised by good men. I made my dad a promise, man. Y'all remember when I touched down years ago when I first made my first page. And y'all seen how I started from nothing and began and all this old shit. And then my dad ended up having this incident and ended up getting sick. Well, he ended up hurting himself and fucked around and aspirated. Well, they ended up doing some fucked up shit. They didn't do the procedure right and gave him hard food instead of a liquid diet. And my dad ended up aspirating and ended up dying. And no matter what I was going through in my life, I was always telling myself, sitting in those cells and shit, I gotta be there if anything happened to my old man. I can't be, you know what I'm saying? I gotta be there to take care of my people, my this and this and always. Cause since a kid, I was the one that stood up. When I was a little boy, I'm the middle child. I got a sister that's younger than me. But for the life of me, I couldn't understand why my brother would be so damn playful. And we in this motherfucker with no food and no lights and shit. And I'm feeling some kind of goddamn way. Cause I know this shit ain't right. But I ain't nothing but 12, 13 years old. But I'm so rugged from the dumb shit you thought was cool showing me. Now I gotta use this shit to my advantage and apply this shit now. So now I'm out here packing and taking this shit for what it worth. You know what I'm saying? And that shit was fucked up. But I did what I had to do as far as, you know, making sure things got taken care of. And the streets don't offer you no type of, it's no escape plan, honestly, because the only thing that kept me grounded was being raised by a wonderful man, a great man that knew I had that had better intentions for me and knew that I could do better. So he wouldn't just settle for me just being no street nigga because I wasn't raised to be no street nigga. The circumstances was different. How he was raised and how I was raised, you know what I'm saying? With me having to be separated from two parents because I can only spend but so much time with Pops. It was only those weekends that he was able to spend with me and shit like that. I was able to spend with him and him still having to go to work on Sundays and shit. And I have to get up and go to work early in the morning with him too. 6, 7 years old type shit. And he teaching me the fundamental of the value of a dollar and how to carry yourself and be respectful and how to earn shit. I remember unpacking the trucks and shit with him early. A little nigga. Like all this shit was instilled in me. But then I got to go back to the projects with my mom and them and be around the gangsters and shit. And I'm in the street and my brother thinking it's cool to show me little shit. And all the while, it ain't no love because we basically like night and day because we grew apart. We was always different because I got straight to the business. I see what the fuck going on. I ain't cool with it. And the first chance I got, I moved out of mama's house because I wanted to be one less mouth to feed. So that little child support or whatever she receiving, y'all can have that type shit. I'm out, you know. And then when she died that next year, I got to take care of my little sister. But then again, like I said, the streets don't offer a nigga no value. But now I made my old man a promise. When he died, I said I was out. And I meant it. And that's exactly what the fuck I did. Started from a bullshit ass job. Called my little brother up, little nigga. I've been knowing him since 13 years old. I'm 42 now, so that's been 19 years. Been knowing that nigga for 19 years. And fuck round. I ended up calling him up one day. And Ben knew he had the hookup at the Le Jet and got a gig. It was a bullshit job, don't get me wrong. But I appreciated making that $13.5 an hour. Because I didn't have to worry about getting every dime that I had out of the streets no more. Because now they gave me something else to do. So now I had to adjust to living with going to work and adjusting it to living from paycheck to paycheck. But I understood that, okay, this is the way life really supposed to be. So now all this shit making sense to me. All this stuff my dad was always telling me. You know what I'm saying? Now it's making sense to me. And so, before you know it, I ended up getting a better gig, a more professional joint, until where it's able to support my kids' medicals and all that old type of shit. And that's better. I can honestly say, man, that's better than a nigga being in the streets any day. Why would I? When you understand how much you gotta lose and in this department, you're not gonna gain anything besides the same shit that you already gained, which is nothing but pain. Why continue to do the same shit? If a nigga sit there and tell you straight up, look, y'all, I done been there before, and there's no points to prove. You ain't got no points to prove. Who gives a fuck about who being the hardest nigga? Your stupid ass can get whacked too. Don't nobody care about that. Don't nobody care about that. The key to it is. It's about the strongest survive, the smartest. You got to be smart enough to survive, to adapt, to be able to. Cause even if you got to know when to hold and when to fold, you got to be smart enough to know when to move, when to tuck and roll, whenever, because it's a time and it's a place for everything. Even in the Bible says it's a time for war, it's a time for cry, it's a time for sorrow, it's a time for peace, all this old shit. It's a time for everything. So the most important thing is for you to understand that everything has its perfect time. Don't be so much in a rush trying to get to know motherfuckers or trying to have a motherfucker down with you and all this old shit. Take your time out, fill a person out to know them in every season and phase of their life before you commit to the people. Seriously. Seriously, man. I ain't even know. I thought it was probably 9 o'clock. I tried to get off at about 9, but I'm on my way. I gotta get me some rest, man. CC, I'm glad y'all all listening, man. I try to keep it all the way G with y'all, give y'all nothing but the facts, man. I gotta go to bed and get me some rest. I gotta get up early in the morning, but y'all already know what I represent and know the rest. Make sure y'all stay blessed out there no matter what y'all do, regardless of what, man. It's gonna be some tough time, but you make the best of them motherfucker because you never know, man. It could be you, the next big sensation, my nigga. This your boy, Sir Goldy. Y'all stay blessed.